Hey guys, Happy New Year's. We made it into 2018. Thanking God for that. This is the first Ex Auntie Nella live in 2018. I'm super excited about it. I'm going to wait for some people to log on, but I know you guys have a list of resolutions. And most of the time, we always forget to include our spouses or partners in our resolution. So today I thought it would be a great idea to talk about, what have you created for a resolution, a New Year's resolution for your spouse or your partner in 2018. So I want you to share and let people know Auntie Nella is back live. Invite some friends. And I hope that 2018 bring you guys everything your heart desires. I hope that it brings you happiness. I hope that it brings you love. I hope that it brings, prosperity. I hope that it brings you financial wealth. I hope that it brings you everything that your heart desires. Because we all want to make sure, we're happy. And 2017 may have been rough for some of you guys. But looking forward to 2018 for a better year. So with that said, we're going to wait and see how many other people have logged on. You're going to see me with my phone a little bit tonight here. And I'll be looking down just a little bit because I want to get on live as well on my phone. So I want to see how many people we got on so I can just jump right into it. And so it looks like we got a few more. We'll wait for a few more to become on live, and then once that's started, when you jump on, say hi to me so I can say hi back, okay? My voice sounds a little raspy, but don't worry about it. It'll get better. Seems like I'm catching a little cold, but hopefully that'll go. Not claiming it, so we'll see what happens. But I do hope that 2018 is better than 2017, especially when it comes to marriage, especially when it comes to relationships. And so I just want to, put some stuff out there for you guys. So we create all these New Year's resolutions for losing weight. We create New Year's resolutions for making more money. We create New Year's resolutions for everything. But we often forget about our significant other. We often forget about our spouses. We often forget about our our family as a whole. And so it's important to make sure that that's happening as well, because that's just as important as anything else. And so in order to make a relationship or a marriage grow, you have to be creative. You have to add some flavor to it. And so with that said, you just make sure, if you haven't created one, let's start tonight. We'll start tonight chatting about it. Hey, Taranza, Happy New Year's. Hey, Vonda. Hey, Erica. Hey, Mia. I hope you guys are doing fabulous. So with that being started, every year, one of the things I often do is I often think about where I failed last year when it came to my marriage. Because you know what? A marriage is just like a job, anything else. There's going to be some strengths that you carry or that you bring to the relationship. There's going to be some weakness that you bring to the relationship. I never want to better a strength, because a strength is your strength. That means that's something you're good at. A weakness is something that you need to strive to get there. And so I always like to tackle those things that I know that may cause a weakness in my marriage or may cause a little stress point in my marriage. And so I always try to brainstorm what are the things that I can possibly do to make it a little bit better. One of the things for me is I think I'm quick to respond really quick and snap really quick. And so that's one of the things for me for 2018 I plan on doing. I also want to make sure I'm doing different stuff. I also want to make sure I'm creating a different vibe in my marriage. I'm creating a different flavor. I want to spice it up. And it's not when I say a different vibe or different flavor or different or I'm spicing it up, I'm just not speaking on the bedroom piece of it. I'm speaking on other things. Whether there's more dates I want to set up, whether I want to plan it, whether, Valentine's Day is coming up. ladies and guys. And so, now's the time you can think about some things that you can do that may be, a surprise to your spouse or your significant other, that will, add some value to your relationship and your marriage. I was just watching one of my post on yesterday, and one of the things, and it was one of my cousins, and he's a guy, and one of the things he said was, it's my anniversary and I really want to go to Victoria's Secret, but I'm afraid that, they'll look at me kind of weird. And one of the things I will say is, it's awesome when you can go and do things like that and surprise your mate. Especially if you're going to go into a store that's set up just for females and you're a male going in there and you're going to pick something out for your significant other, your spouse. That adds a lot of value to it, because I know for me, that's a lot of brownie points that I'm going to add to my husband, because one of the things is it put him in a space where he may have been uncomfortable, but he did it out of love, and he did it because he knew it would make me happy. So it's things like that. I often tell people to think, you don't often have to have money, to create, a different vibe. You don't often have money to create a different setting. Sometimes it's the mindset. Sometimes it's the thought. What's wrong with taking some time and say, you know what? I'm going to write him a letter and I'm just going to lay it on his front seat with one rose. Or I'm going to write her a letter and lay it, on the front seat with a rose. As soon as he or she opens the door, then they see that. That goes a long ways. And it's things like that that makes a marriage grow. It's things like that that makes love continue to grow. And so it's important to, be spontaneous. Don't stay in one box. It's important not to stay in one box, because staying in one box doesn't make your marriage unique. Staying in one box doesn't make your relationship unique. A lot of times what happens is when men or women stray, it's because that person that they're straying with is the person that's showing them something different, or saying something different to them, or doing something different that their significant other or their spouse didn't do. And so what happens is when you're in a relationship and you're in a marriage for a long period of time, sometimes we lose that. We lose the, opportunity to say, you know what? I'm going to go home and cook him, a nice dinner, a nice steak dinner, his favorite meal, cook him a dinner. And we're going to have, just a dinner between me and him, and you have all the bells and whistles. And sometimes when you've been in that relationship, in that marriage for such a long time, you take it for granted. Make 2018 the year for you to step outside of your relationship or your marriage and make it great. I can't make your relationship great. You have to make your relationship and marriage great. It's all up to you. When you walked down the aisle, you said, till death do us part. And that's correct. Till death do us part. And if you're saying till death do us part, it's important for you to make sure, and it goes both ways. It's not just for the man. It's not just for the woman. It's for both. You two both have to be created. You two both have to want it. It can't ever be one-sided. Because if you're willing to create a resolution to make your marriage and fight for your marriage and fight for your relationship, and the other person isn't doing it, then it can't go anywhere. Because then what's going to happen is you're going to be burnt out. You're going to be tired. You're going to constantly think to yourself, man, I feel like I'm doing all of this, but I'm not even getting, small rewards out of it. And so don't ever get to the point where you feel like you're doing it and you're burning yourself out. Because once you burn yourself out, it's hard to climb back up there. It's really hard to climb back up there. So create things that you want to do. Go to the movies. Figure out, some things that he like. One of the things that I learned a long time ago was I wasn't really a sports fan. But I decided, you know what? I'm not quite a sports fan, but it's important to him. So it's important to me to at least understand the lingo of, football, to at least understand the lingo of boxing, because those were the two great things that he loved the most. And so for me, it meant a lot for me to learn it. And so it made us have a better marriage and a better relationship, simply because I can now understand how to have a conversation with him and how to, sit and watch sports with him and understand it, but don't become a nag. Because if you're sitting there and you've created something and you want to, connect with him, but you're sitting there and just saying, you know what, I'm just going to connect with him and watch sport, and you or I both are not saying anything. That's not gaining anything for him, and it's not gaining anything for you. The other thing is, no man wants to sit with a woman and watch sports, and that woman is constantly asking questions, or that woman is constantly, so what they doing? What's this play? What does that mean? Take some time to invest and look and find it out for yourself. He'll be surprised and he'll appreciate it. Same thing for, anything else that he, step outside the box. Try to think of things that he like that you're not connected to, but you're willing to allow yourself to be connected as well. Hey, Miss Wyatt, how are you? So it's always important to, make sure that you're taking the time, you're creating the space, you're creating the moment to live in your marriage. You're creating a moment to live in your relationship. One of the things I often try and do is I try to take a moment to just breathe. I don't want you to think that, my mind always needs to be racing. I have to focus on my job. I have to focus on my kids. I have to focus on all of that. But you need to take a small amount of time to try and figure out how you're going to invest or add value into your relationship. It's no different than you depositing money in a bank. You need to deposit time into your relationship. You need to deposit, some romance in your relationship. Who wants to always have a boring relationship? Who wants to always have a boring session? Who always wants to have that? You want to make sure you have some value into your marriage and your relationship. Anybody, and this is 110%, anybody you talk to that's been in a marriage or been in a relationship for a long period of time, I can guarantee you, if you have a conversation with them, they will tell you there's things that I did in the beginning of my relationship that I've changed to do now where I'm at now in my relationship today. Your relationship is never gonna, or your marriage is never gonna be the same. And what I mean by that is things that may have happened in the beginning of the relationship, some things are gonna change. Doesn't mean it's gonna change for the bad. It could change for the good. Some things may change for the bad and fall to the wayside. But in the same token, if it's something that's important to your marriage, if it's something that's important to your relationship, you need to make sure you're maintaining that. You need to make sure that you're keeping a fire lit under your marriage. You need to make sure you're keeping a fire lit under your relationship. Because here's the thing. That's somebody that you want to spend your life with. That's somebody that you want to make sure you have a friendship with. That's somebody that you want to make sure you're communicating with. And so if you've set it up and you've made your commitment to do all the things you need to do or all the things you want to do in 2018, there might be important for you to have a conversation with your spouse, because it's never going to be a situation where it's two people coming out with the same result. And what I mean by that is you may have taken your time and created, hey, here's what I want to make sure I want to do for 2018. I just want to make sure I'm doing what I need to do. Maybe he's not quite there. Maybe she's not quite there. There's nothing wrong with you saying, hey, honey, guess what? I decided for 2018, it's important to me, and I want it to be just as important to you. I want us to make sure we're working together as one to create this awesome union. And with that being said, I'm going to create 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 different things I want to make sure I need to work on that I didn't do great in 2017. There's nothing wrong with you taking the opportunity to ask the question, what are some of the things? Give me 3 big things that you think I truly need to work on in 2018 that I can that I can work on in 2018 that I didn't do good in 2017. And take that into consideration. Don't get defensive about it. A lot of times what happens is we don't like people to criticize us, or we don't want people to give us criticism. But criticism is important. You can't ever see what you're doing wrong because you're walking inside of you. You have to sometimes step outside of you and reach out to other people and allow other people to tell you, what is it that I can work on better? What is it that, I didn't do good in 2017 that I want to do great in 2018, but I know I might need to work on that. So that's important to make sure that you're investing into your marriage to figure out what is it that you can work on. It's important for somebody else to tell you. Some of the things you may know. If you're in tune to who you are, you may know some of the things that you're doing. And try and make sure that's some of the stuff that you're going to fix. Surprise him. Do something that you would normally do. And that's the thing that I think when you start to show your spouse, when you start to show your partner, you start to show them, you know what, I'm in it to win it. And 2018 is going to be our year. Every year you're going to always have something to work on. You can't ever be great. I know we all want to be great because, I think I'm great. But anywho, I just say that, it's important to make sure that you're going to always in life, whether it's, your home life, whether it's your work life, no matter what it is, you're going to always have something to work on. I don't care who you are. There's going to be always something for you to work on. And it's important. It's truly important to make sure that you know what you need to work on and you're not wasting time on something that's a strength already. So you may be great at making sure you're cooking all the time. That could be one of your things. I don't cook at home all the time, but maybe in 2018, I'm going to make sure I create awesome meals, for my husband, because he's a person that loves to eat at home versus out all the time. You just never know, and you will never know until you ask the question. No question is dumb unless you don't answer and don't ask the question. And so I always say, ask the question. You may think it may be dumb, but somebody else may not think that. Somebody else may be thinking the same exact thing that you're thinking. So it's always important to reach out and ask that question. That's what's key. Tangie, you're correct. You're absolutely right. Self-reflection is always good. It's always to look back at who you are and make sure you are doing everything you can do, or, you're finding out your weakness so you can make your weakness your strength. Nobody can ever in life, I promise you guys, nobody can ever be in life be great at everything. I don't care who you are. I don't care. You could be the Pope. You can't. There's going to be always a weakness. Some people, you'll hear some people who speak, and they're like, and you'll hear them speaking and you're like, wow, I wish I can get up in front of a crowd and speak like that person. But you don't know, that person could be super nervous prior to getting there. And then once they get on the stage, they're comfortable. So you never know what you can do or what you can create unless you try. Take one step, put one foot in front of the other, and move forward. That's the only way you can do it. Don't let 2018 hold you and bind you into, anything that you had in 2017 that held you back. Allow 2018 to make greatness happen. Allow 2018 to make marriages great. We already have a struggle where when it comes to marriages, people are easily, easy to say, you know what, I'm done with this marriage. I don't want to, commit anymore. Fight for your marriage. If you don't fight for your marriage, nobody else will. And who knows? The issues in your marriage could be minimal. The issues in your marriage could be simple things that can be fixed. But one of the things you have to do is, you have to do this. You have to be willing and open to accept it. You have to be willing and open to accept change. You have to be willing and open to allow a person to come to you and say, hey, this is what's really annoying me. Or this is something that, I think, you need to fix because it's just something that I don't feel great about when it comes to, your marriage. One of the things a lot of times spouses will come, whether it's female or male, and ask a question. And your response could come off as, you're irritated or it's negative or you don't want to be bothered. That spouse may shut down. And that's not good, because what happens is that spouse is continuing to suppress whatever it is you're doing to them, continuing to suppress. And what happens with suppression? At some point, it's going to come back. And unfortunately, when it comes back, you have just all of that ugly stuff that's coming back. When they do decide to share it with you, it may come off as a lashing. It may come off in anger. It may come off in, this is the only way I can tell it to you because I'm so ticked off about it. And so that's why it's important, whenever there's an issue or concern, you check it at the door. You have a conversation with it. One of the things my mom always would tell me is, and I have utilized this from day one when it came to my marriage, never ever go to sleep mad with your spouse or your husband. Your spouse or your partner. It's key. Never go to sleep mad. Resolve that issue or resolve that situation before you go to sleep. Here's why. You never know if that significant other may come back. You never know if your spouse may come back. And then now you're living, in life, living, say, I wish I could, have said this. I wish he, or she knew, how I felt. It's important to lay it out on the table and let people know how you feel. Don't ever be fearful, because if you ever get to the point where you allow fear to creep in, then you allow your growth in your marriage to stop. And the only two people that can create growth in a marriage would be you and your significant other, or you and your spouse. That's just one of the things. Another thing I never did is, I never ever, if me and my partner ever got into a spat, or, we ever argued, we never left the contents of our house. And what that means is, if we're mad, my husband's not going to leave and go stay at a hotel, or I'm not going to leave and, go at a hotel. Because then what happens is, you allow the devil to creep in. So that person walks out the house and they're already upset and they're mad and all that other good stuff. You don't know who might walk up to them. And that person is saying everything that you didn't say. Or that person is feeling the madness void, or feeling the hurt void that you have created. And now they become, or they look like the hero in this situation. And now you got a situation of him now falling for someone, or her falling for someone, because they were put in a vulnerable situation and didn't have an opportunity to have a conversation between you and your spouse. Never put yourself in that space. It's important to make sure you fight for your marriage. If you don't fight for your marriage, nobody else will fight for your marriage. It's just that important. So I want you, I'm just going to challenge you guys. I'm going to challenge you guys for 2018, and I want you to speak this into existence. For 2018, I'm going to do everything I can do. I'm going to do my part to make sure my marriage is great. I'm going to do everything I can do to make sure my relationship is great. Because if you can fix some of those key things in a relationship, your marriage will be great. Communication, you hear me say this often, and I will continue to say it often. Communication is key. You have to communicate. You can't have a relationship, you can't have a marriage without communicating with your partner. Just think about it. You have a friendship. You have a job. One of the key things in your relationship with your job is you have to communicate. One of the key things in your friendship, you have to communicate. So it's always important to make sure you are allowing yourself to communicate and allow them to understand, because again, I can't read your mind, he can't read my mind. Vice versa. It doesn't happen. If you're feeling some type of way because of something he did or because of something he said, make sure you approach him about it. The key thing about the approach is, though, you want to make sure you're not judging him. You want to make sure, or her, you want to make sure you're not blaming them. You want to go into it to seek to understand. And what I mean by that is, so here's the situation. I didn't like when you said this about me to this person. Can you at least tell me why you feel that way? And allow them to be honest with you. Because if you're going to go into it where you're blaming them, you're bashing them, you're beating them down, whether it's male or female, you get nowhere. And what I mean by you get nowhere, you get everything he's telling you with anger going through one ear and coming out the next. And so you don't gain anything from it. It's always important to make sure you're communicating enough to make sure you're gaining, he's gaining, and the union is gaining. The bottom line for your marriage and your relationship is making sure the two of you are on the same page. If you're not in a relationship, if you're not in a marriage, take time to reflect on you. Self-reflection is always key. It's not just when you're in a marriage. It's not just when, I'm in a marriage, I'm going to self-reflect. You want to make sure self-reflect happens on both ends. So if you're not in a relationship, start to work on you. Try to figure out things that's gonna make you happy. Because now what you're doing is you're preparing you mentally, physically, to be great for whenever Mr. Right walks into your life. Whenever, Mrs. Right walks into your life. So you just want to make sure you're key. You want to make sure you're on it. If you've done everything that you need to do, you want to make sure you take this time, because it's gonna allow you to be better for your next relationship. Because now you've taken time to self-reflect on you and figure out, what is it that I didn't do in my past relationship that I'm doing, that I need to do current in my new relationship. That's always key. It's awesome for, a new year to come in, because now you can reset that clock and say, you know what? It's 2018. I, had some struggles in 2017 when it came to relationship. I've had some struggles in 2018 when it comes to, finding Mr. Right. I'm constantly, dealing with, the wrong type of Mr. Right or the wrong type of Mrs. Right. Now it's time for you to say, you know what? I've had some, bad days in 2017 when it came to trying to find Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time to try and figure out, what is it that I did, or what is it that I could do better. Sometimes we as women, and I'm just going to speak from a women's standpoint, sometimes we as women, when we've been single for such a long time, all it takes is the one man to say, hey, boo, and we own it. We don't take the time, even though in our head we hear all the bells ringing. Ding, 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 ding. He's not good for you. Ding, 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 ding. He's a cheater. Ding, 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 ding. All he wants is your money. Ding, 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 ding. All he wants is your goodies. We get all those things. But what we do is we suppress it. And we think to ourselves, no, I'm going to give it a little try. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to work really hard to make sure I do everything I need to do to make sure this relationship works. If you've gotten all the signs and all their signs are not healthy, then what you need to do is you need to make sure you're working hard on you, because that's going to allow you to make sure when that wrong person comes your way, you're going to know that person was wrong. Exit out to the left right quick, because at that point you're now tuned into you, and you're now tuned in to know what you want and what you don't want. You know that already. And because you know that already, you're not going to sacrifice your happiness. You're not going to sacrifice who you are to please somebody else. Because if you do that, then what you do is you've now laid yourself out there to be a doormat or someone to just walk all over you. And that's never good. So I'm going to challenge you guys. 2018, write down some things that you need to work on. 2018, focus on making your marriages and your relationships great. If you're in a relationship, focus on, saying, 2018, I want to make sure if this relationship is where I'm at, I want to truly make sure that I'm giving you 110% of me. Because I want to make sure that hopefully somewhere down the line, he's going to propose to me or she's going to propose to me. Women propose too. So I don't want you guys to think it's just all about the men. But you just want to make sure that both of you guys are on the same page. Because it's horrible to have somebody propose to you and then the answer is no. Because maybe that person is saying no right now because they may think it's too soon. Doesn't mean that they don't love you. Doesn't mean that they don't want to be with you. But sometimes you can never rush into a marriage or a relationship if you're not there, if you're not on the same page. Because that's a disaster for a relationship to not grow. That's a disaster for failure. You're not going to create growth in that, because if he's on one side of the highway going left and you're on the opposite side of the highway going right, you're not in the same direction. In a union is a couple that's one. That means we're in unison. We're making sure we're conversating. We're making sure we're on the same page. And so take that time. Let's make 2018, starting today is January 1st, make 2018 a new situation when it comes to your marriage, a new relationship. A new person when it comes to your relationship, a new person when it comes to your marriage. Now, let's do it now, because now it's the beginning of the year. Today makes 364 more days to go. That's a lot of days for us to prove to our spouse. That's a lot of days for us to prove to our partners that, you know what, I'm in it to win it. 2018 is the year for relationships and marriages to grow. 2018 is the relationship for us to say, you know what, we're in it to win it. There's too many marriages that didn't make it in 2017. There's too many relationships that didn't make it in 2018. Let's change that. We can only change it if it's us. We can't change it any other way. And so let's do everything that we can do to make sure that happens. With that being said, before I go ahead and send me some love, you guys. And remember, if you want to hear a topic, make sure you reach out to me, you inbox me. I appreciate the people who have inboxed me. Make sure you do that. Don't forget to share. Feel free to always share my posts. I will tell you guys, I appreciate you guys for that, because the people who are sharing in, you know, all my Ask Auntie Nella Nations, that nation, in my nation, Ask Auntie Nella Nation, are sharing, because I'm getting people from all over the world who are requesting to, you know, become a friend. And I ask the question, you know, how did you hear about me? And the response I get is, oh, I saw, you know, your video shared on someone's page. And so that I appreciate you guys for. 2018 will be a great year for us. It will be an awesome year for us. And so with that being said, make sure you go and subscribe to my YouTube. Please, please, please subscribe to my YouTube. I want to make sure you guys get on there, because that's one of the things I am going to transition over to at some point. So I want to make sure you guys can, you know, come on live and, you know, chat with me and we have a conversation. So make sure you do that. The other thing is, we're going to do After Dark after this. And After Dark is going to be a little bit similar to what we're talking about, but it's going to be, you know, have you taken some time to reflect and look at yourself and decide, you know, am I going to let my freaky side out in 2018 for your significant other or your spouse? So we want to, you know, do that. So with that being said, I hope you guys had a fabulous New Year's. I pray that 2018 is awesome for you guys. And continue to add friends to Ask Auntie Nella. And I will accept them as soon as I get them, and I'll give you a shout out for that as well. So let's make 2018 a great year for relationships and marriages. With that being said, I'm going to end the video for tonight, and then give me about 2-3 seconds, and then we'll come back with After Dark. Have a good night.